Hello and welcome to the Bones Horror Podcast. This is episode 77, Evil Dead. This is a 2013 version and it's a podcast we have visited before, but this actual episode, Evil Dead, I think it was like episode 18 or something. So it was a while ago. And only got 5 boners. And
Wow.
I gave 8.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like we'll share the opinion on this one.
So I gave it 8, and others gave it 2. So yeah. Anyway, I thought it was about time we revisited it, and because I like it a lot. So we'll talk about that in a bit. Anyway, this week we have with us Larry.
Hello.
And only myself at the moment. I think Jess is on a train somewhere. And Ewan is he's playing drum and bass. Playing drum and bass.
Yeah, playing the old
So he's DJing at a nightclub somewhere. He just sent a thing over saying he was playing drum and bass. It was drum and bass.
Yeah, he said it. Yeah, he said his first set was going pretty good.
Okay, so like he's smashing it out in some nightclub in London. So he's loving it. So this week, what have I been doing? Playing Rust.
Nice.
Sad, aren't I? With my son. We actually achieved something this time. We did get raided. It was a bit muggy, obviously, but then I rebuilt it. We rebuilt it, put some time into it, made it into all out of metal, and no one's touched us since. So we're having fun with it. So the amazing thing we did this time is we didn't join a UK server. Yeah, because I think that was the muggiest, saltiest place to be. So we went on a New York server, and it's been really good, really good. So loved it. People are nice.
Yeah,
there's no people blowing your brains out. So yeah, I've been doing that. I'll speak a bit more about it in a bit, but we've been having some fun. Let me just shut my phone up because there's people running around my garden at the moment, and my office is out in the garden. Haven't done really much else. Got working. Watched a lot of movies this week. A lot. So you, Larry, up to what?
I went away for the Easter weekend. Have very much been in planning for filming coming up in July. So there's a lot of stuff. Just need to get ready for that. So that's probably why, again, with yourself, I haven't sent anything yet because just there's so much to do first, and then it's going to be very much emails after emails, which is going to be great fun. But yeah, no, I too watched. I watched a lot of films, surprisingly a lot. So I got a lot to recap.
Yeah, that'd be good to chat. I don't want to go on for hours and hours. There's only 2 of us, so we can only say so much. It's a pity because I really wanted to know Jess's opinion on this. As it's quite scary. Now, this was made in 2013. It's 92 minutes long, so it's perfect. Had a budget of 17 million and a box office of 97 million. I thought it might be more than that. And it was the fourth Evil Dead film. It's not a sequel, is it? But it is in the same universe, isn't it? I think
it's. I always envision this as kind of like a reimagining. So it's for me. I think it's set in the same universe. Like I like to think the older like especially just the first Evil Dead, definitely like has taken place, and it's kind of like you could watch this separately, or you can watch them both one after the other, and it does link. They definitely kind of take some of the same things from the first one, and obviously the second one because that was.
It's a lot of like Ash's car is
at
the beginning. Because I was saying to Ollie, because Ollie watched it. My oldest son, he's 15, nearly 16. Never watched an 18 before, and he loves Ash versus Evil Dead. Not seen any of the other Evil Deads.
Wow, okay.
And we said, well, why don't you watch it with me? And he's like, yeah, I'll do that. Because he's quite, he's 15, 16. I don't want to spend time with me unless he has to, really. So, like, he watched it. He liked it. There was one scene where I said, look away now.
Yeah. I think I know which one that is.
The tongue, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, that's the tongue scene is amazing. But he absolutely loved it. So he wants to watch more now. So I've let him watch his first 18. He's done quite well. I'm sure I watched an 18 when I was about 12. Right?
Oh well, yeah. I was gonna say like I think I brought it up on one of the podcasts. The Thing was the film that I was kind of introduced to. That was like the very first like, okay, this is your introduction to it, and I loved it, and that's kind of why I like horror to this day. Just following them.
No, definitely the same. So let's have a little intro here. So 5 friends head to a remote cabin where the discovery of a book of the dead leads to unwittingly summon up demons living in the nearby woods. So I don't know if that's quite correct or not, really. So it's
yeah.
It's quite funny because at the beginning, when they find the book, old matey's kind of goes out of his way to read out what it says, even by tracing what's in the book. It's some of it does not make sense at all with youngsters. I don't know how old they're meant to be. They look about 30, but they're probably meant to be 18 or so, aren't they?
Yeah, like I always envision them to be like, they obviously look a lot older. But I imagine they're going for like maybe early to mid 20s. They all seem like, I think some specific lines in it talk about some of the characters just starting their careers. I know that the main brother character, he's just started a job in Chicago, I believe, at the garage, or California or Chicago, and he's got a new garage and a new girlfriend. But yeah, I guess the only big thing about the premise that changes from the first one is a reason why they stay in the cabin. I
want to talk about that.
Yeah. Which I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. So this director, is it Fede Alvarez?
Yeah. I always say Fede or
Fede Alvarez. What else did he do? Because it's really very good. Like
he did so before Evil Dead, he had a YouTube channel, and he used to post I believe they're still on YouTube. He posted like short videos of robots attacking a city, and it was and Sam Raimi watched that and thought, this is actually really good, and this person knows, you know, he's obviously were getting views and very much widely talked about at the time. I think he was like, you know, we want to make an Evil Dead remake or reimagining, but we don't want it to be, we want it to be something new and something different. And I think they went with a perfect choice, and it just goes to show that, you know, give someone a budget and the right angle, and they'll smash it. But other films he's done is Don't Breathe. I know
which I like. I know it's kind of weird, isn't it?
I like the first one. I know they've done a second one, and
I quite like the second one. It's just more of the same, really.
Okay.
What has he done? I suppose that's quite recent. Don't Breathe 2.
Yeah, he co-wrote it and produced it. But I know he has done other stuff laced in between. I know he's done like a few others, and I'm hoping, and if he ever catches the podcast, just do it. Just I want him to make a Resident Evil film, and I want Jane Levy, who is in this. Well, Jane Levy, who's in this, who obviously smashes her role from some of the stuff she has to do in this.
She's in Don't Breathe as well.
Yes, and I would love her to play Jill Valentine in Resident Evil, because I just feel like this is kind of a tease at like, okay, Evil Dead, let's move over, and it's just not happened yet. So fingers crossed.
Well, hopefully. So the kind of premise to the film is they've all gone to the cabin in the woods because the Mia character has a drug problem.
Yeah.
Is it heroin?
Yeah, I believe so.
Now, I was thinking how, you know, when I was growing up, people on heroin, or that you were made to see them looking all skinny and bony and on death's door. But she looked rather good for someone on heroin.
Well, I think they say though, don't they, that like, and again, just spoilers in case, just for people who haven't seen it, but they say quite early on, she does the kind of the premise is they're taking her to their old cabin. I believe it's their mum's old cabin, and they're gonna try and go cold turkey, but it's kind of revealed that she's done it before, not at the cabin,
a few times,
and she's failed, and she's also OD'd. So the friends kind of have made a pact with each other, and also get the brother involved to say it's going to be the worst few days. I think they say like 2 to 3 days, but they don't want her to leave because she's done it before. So I think the reason why she probably looks better than most is because she's probably gone back to that
recently,
and then they've kind of offered the ultimatum to be like,
she didn't look like Matey from Trainspotting at all.
No, like they kind of when she's on that car, you kind of do think, okay. But I think the acting is good that it gets that across. And I think I think that with some of the stuff that comes in later and just some of the special effects and what the actors probably had to go through on set, is is a lot.
Well, it's like the scenes where she goes outside with the trees. No, it's not a tree, is it? It's not like the first one. It's just a load of
branches and
branches,
thorns.
And then something gets laid inside her, which I presume it went up her bum, because that's what I told my son. I didn't want to discuss anything else.
Yeah, kind of just like these trees hold her in place, and the evil
put something inside.
Yeah.
Her. And there's so many things. Do you know when they go through a lot of pain and you see visually they're all marked up and scarred and cut and everything else, and then you see her in the next scene, there's nothing wrong with her. Why is that? Are they just seeing that, or is there two of them? It does confuse me slightly.
I think up until a point. So going back a bit, so essentially the film kind of opens with the fact how another family have unleashed this evil, and there's a young girl who in the film, kind of the prologue to the film is she is burnt alive to kind of release this demon from her, and they all go into, and it kind of cuts forward these new characters on their mission to kind of save Mia from this drug addiction. And as her senses start to kick in from going cold turkey, she can smell the events from the prologue that have happened in the basement. And so they go into the basement, find a bunch of voodoo stuff, but they find the book.
Cats.
Yeah, dead cats, dead animals, all strung from the top.
Yeah.
The burnt post from the beginning where the young girl was burnt. And they essentially take the book. There's a book, a double barrel shotgun, and there's something else there. And one of the characters thinks it's a great idea to open the book, read from the book, even though it specifically tells him, do not write, read, or say it, don't think it.
Covered in barbed wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has to actually cut it off, the barbed wire, and cuts himself.
Yeah. Well, which is a nice touch, I think, from the original, is that it goes into that whole blood sacrifice of giving permission and allowing that to kind of go. But yeah, he reads from it, and the evil kind of revolves itself around Mia's soul. So unlike the original, it's very much just evil against the people. Whereas this takes a very different turn and kind of goes, the evil wants to prey on Mia's soul in order to get 5 souls, in order to release another demon, which is called the Blood Demon. And yeah, I think it's really good. But then I have a big issue with this film, and that's not to do with the film itself. It's to do with how it was released. Because there are 2 versions of this film.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
And if you have not seen it, you need to watch the extended. It's 96 minutes, not 92.
Okay.
But it includes everything that was cut from the original. So in the 92-minute version, there is no chainsaw. There is,
mine says 91 minutes. So
yes. So I'll show you. I could actually for audio listeners, we're just showing our copies. This is my copy.
Oh, that's beautiful. Look at mine.
But
oh dear,
I had to.
Where'd you get that from?
Well, so the case, it's a steelbook case, so you can get them online. So I will happily send you a link over. But
yes,
I'll send you a link to the extended. So Dan's just put my girlfriend at the time watched that movie alone with my dad. Awkward tree scene. Yes, yes. I remember watching it with friends and thinking like, what is happening here? On the
original it with my son.
Yeah,
so it went up his bum, son. Up her bum, son. So like it's got in. It's awkward, to say the least.
But yeah, though there is an extended edition, and they only released it in the UK, not in cinemas. They released it on E4. So an example would be this, right? In the version that you've watched, and that is on, when you order this film or buy it from any store, it cuts out so much that I watched the extended edition with somebody and told them what they had cut, and they were kind of stunned at like, well, that doesn't make sense if you cut this, and that doesn't make sense. And an example I can give too. From the original, there is a great scene where they trap somebody in the cellar, which is, if you're watching this visually, you can see it's our background. And there's a very good scene where she sings in the original, we're gonna get you, not another sound, not another peep, which is an iconic moment in Evil Dead. That is not in the normal version. It's only in the extended version. There is also no chainsaw action until the end in the version that's 91 minutes.
Yeah.
But in the 96 minutes, there is a whole section that is just dedicated to a chainsaw, cutting people up, setting people on fire.
That sounds great.
Oh, it's honestly, it's if you're an Evil Dead fan, they did, I think, people dirty, because when you watch the extended compared to what was released, you do sit there and think the extended edition doesn't change too much, but it takes away so much that for me,
why was it cut, do you think? What's the reasoning for that?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I'm to this day stunned, because in order to get the copy that the extended edition, you have to get it from Germany, or you have to get it from somewhere that's obviously region that plays obviously for us in the UK, but it's tricky to get hold of. And I don't know why. And they only showed it once on E4, and it was a special event for the Evil Dead.
Wow.
And yeah, like it's honestly, I would say to anybody who's interested in watching Evil Dead, the 2013 reimagining, just go for the extended edition, because it's again, you could say 91 minutes to 96 is not a lot, but it's a lot on screen time that is cut, that I watched the normal cut, and it's just such a different different thing.
Do you think that's it?
No, hold on. For audio watchers, I'm just checking that the copy that Kev is showing me is
it's only £10. I'll order it.
Hold on.
Now.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Does it look exactly the same?
Yeah.
That is it. That is it. That is it. If it says that, and yeah.
The kind of podcast, this is a great podcast. I've just bought it, so that'll be with me tomorrow.
Lovely.
You gotta love Amazon. You gotta love
honestly,
Amazon.
You will watch it, and I would say this to anybody: you will watch it, and especially for you, Kev. I know you're a big fan of this.
Yeah,
you'll watch it, and you will sit there at the end and go, "I don't like." There's no point watching the other copy anymore, because it just doesn't make sense to me why they cut so many great moments that really add more levity. Like, there's so much more gore, there's so much more story, and again, spoilers if people haven't seen it, but at the end of the film, in the normal edition, they do not show the brother getting taken over by the demon, and the brother is taken over by the demon because that's the fifth soul. And they don't show that in the normal version, which baffles me, because it's like that is the whole premise of the whole third act of the film, the blood demon.
Yeah.
And so when you watch, I'm excited to see what you think when you've watched the extended.
I will watch that next week. In the past we've had competitions on here, and I've given away Blu-rays. So if you want a copy of the standard edition of The Evil Dead 2013, let us know, and I'll send it to you. It's not a problem. If you want it, Dan, it's yours. But anyone out there listening, if you want it, get involved. Send us a message. You can have it. Yeah. I'll send it to you.
It's a great film, honestly, to watch. And again, even not the extended, they are. It's a great film, regardless. I'm stunned to this day. I couldn't answer that question. Probably a thing of like studios maybe saying, let's cut this down a bit, or let's remove this. It's not vital. But my personal opinion after watching both was there are huge vital things from it that are missing, and it's a shame, especially if you're an Evil Dead fan.
Massively. Dead by Daylight. I always use Ash. I'm always running around using Ash. So there's a few scenes that made me squirm. The tongue scene. I don't know. Yeah. That makes me. Ugh.
Yeah.
It is extremely well done. Basically, she's got. Is it a razor?
Yeah, she has a box cutter knife.
Yeah, like a Stanley knife, we'd call it in the UK.
Yeah.
And she just cuts her tongue.
Yeah.
Horribly. It's like
she cuts it directly down the middle.
So and it looks really good, but I have to look away. So I don't know if I've ever watched it properly without looking away, because it just does me every time.
I can handle that part of that scene. What I can't handle is that she grabs another girl's head and decides to kiss her with the split tongue.
Yeah.
Which is always, a bit like, oh, great, lovely.
So just thinking of the other scenes. There's lots. The scene with the nail gun.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. And they look great going in their faces.
Yeah.
I don't know how involved Raimi was with this. Do you reckon he had any hands-on?
I think so. He produced it alongside Bruce
Campbell.
And both of them. That it should be on the disc, regardless of any disc. Hopefully the making is on every disc, because that in itself would be annoying if it's not. Yeah. But in the making, they very much left, gave the property and said, we have certain points, we'd like this. But I think what they basically took a step back, but obviously were on hand and shaped it. But I think one thing that's really good about this film, which is why I think it's great, is that if you watch the original and the classic Evil Dead, it's great, and I think most people agree. Yeah. But what I like about this film is that it all it does is kind of say, well, let's take that premise and let's add, let's update it. Let's put better effects in, some, makeup, visual effects. And they're all stunning. Yeah. They're all really good. I mean, Mia, when she is taken over, are some of the scariest things where you're like, that is genuinely creepy. Like, and just the makeup alone is like,
for me,
it's terrifying.
The best. If you were to say it was a remake, because I don't think it is. To me, it is the best out there that I've seen.
Yeah, definitely.
Then Nightmare on Elm Street, which there were scenes that are okay, most of it terrible. What other decent horror remakes are there? There isn't many that I can think of. Friday the 13th, Halloween.
Yeah,
I know they're not direct remakes.
No, I know what you mean though.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they're never quite as good, but I think it does it really well. This, so
it was like The Thing. The Thing. I know it's not a remake, but The Thing did like a reimagining and prequel. And don't get me wrong, the prequel story and the acting is fine, but I feel like this film got it right where that film got it wrong, and that this film looked at its source material and went, well, it's based on very classical effects, like, we'll put some makeup on, put the fake, contact lenses in. And I think that the Thing prequel should have taken a book out of this and gone, we need to go practical effects, because that's what the original audience really was drawn to. And this film as well, like when I saw this in cinema by myself, I should add, in a screen with 8 people.
I bet that was amazing.
Well, that's the thing. I got in and thought, because I'd seen the trailers, I'd seen everything, and thought, you know what, this looks creepy. Let's go see it. I love the original 3, and yeah, I personally, for me, was blown away by it, because whether or not you're not, fair enough if someone's not into this type of film, but if you're someone who likes horror and you like effects and you want just good horror on the screen, this is the perfect film to watch, because it really doesn't hold back on that.
So, Rotten Tomatoes on this, what do you reckon?
I would love to rate it so much higher, but I am worried that a lot of people probably haven't rated it much. So I would say it's probably in the 60s somewhere, and that is a guess.
63, because when we reviewed it before, we got a 2, a 5, and my 8, and I probably could have gave it a 9, to be honest. It's on that. I actually prefer it. I love the second Evil Dead. The first one's okay. It's dark, it's grimy, it's Bruce Campbell's amazing. But I think the second one just has everything, comedy, and
the second one's originally like a remake.
Yeah, it's kind of a remake.
Yeah. I think Sam Raimi made the first one and then thought, like, oh, for the second one, I could remake it, but I could add more to it, because I love that they kind of redo the first film in the first 10 minutes of Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Like, I think I think the third one's good as well, but I don't think it's as good as it takes more of a comedy route, which I think is fine.
So all I've got to say really to Graham and Steve is, you're fucking wrong. Do you know what I mean? That ain't a 2 and a 5 at all. Doing a podcast with people who don't really like horrors always been difficult. And one of them even chose Society. Can you believe that? And I like Society. I've got no problem with shunting. Do you know what I mean? So God. But yeah, anyway,
that film creeps me out, Society.
Amazing.
I know. I think it's
we'll remake it, Larry. You could write that. We'll write a screenplay. We'll redo it. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm not going to lie to you. And for anyone listening or watching, we've patterned that. So you, but like, yeah, I do think that that's another film that I think, if it took this direction, would just would be amazing to watch on screen, because it's a premise that you would hear and say, that sounds a bit silly, but
so Larry does a lot of analysing. I do a lot of getting confused. So Dan's just commented on our YouTube. Yeah.
How many films do I watch a week?
I expect Larry watches 5, 6, don't you? Maybe.
I watched a lot this week, but I do have an excuse. I was showing somebody films that were like, going through. I was like, right, these are some films I'd pick, and Evil Dead was one of them. And the person had not watched a single Evil Dead. This was their first. And
wow!
But they really liked it. I don't think they were expecting what came about in this. But what was really cool to watch is that, they're not a big horror fan, and yet this film, they still were like, that was really good. I liked the characters, I liked where the story went, and they also really appreciated the effects, which that's why I would say to anybody, if you want to have a good time that's not too long, like not 2 hours, 3 hours, just something you can whack on and have a fun time with, and just, it's good filmmaking, I would say, this is a perfect watch. It's very, very good.
What do you reckon? Because I just have loads of fun with it, and I watch it time and time again. And anyone who hasn't seen it should go and see it. It's just amazing. So for me, I'm gonna give it an 8 still. But I expect it to go to 9 once once my new version arrives.
So, well, that's yeah. I think.
And I've got my old version sat here for someone if they want it, and I'll send it. So what do you reckon, Larry? You similar?
Yeah, well, so I would literally what you said is bang on. I would say the film not extended an 8, 100%. I think it's great, and I think it's a good watch. I think the extended edition, for me personally, it does deserve another rating, like a 9, because if you've watched this film, you'll watch the extended edition and you sit there and you go, there are scenes here that why were they cut? And I would love to ask the director genuinely, why did you cut some of the most iconic things that make Evil Dead Evil Dead? And it would be interesting because I imagine it's probably a studio thing, and I imagine it's probably higher ups going like, we want to trim this 3-4 minutes. That's not needed. That's just a bit of extra fun. But for me, I think that's what Evil Dead is. And again, I'm just looking forward to seeing what you think about it, because there are some scenes from the original that I know that will pop up that you'll think, why was that cut?
And there's loads of extras on there as well.
I believe so, yeah. I think both discs have the making and stuff, but I think the extended edition does have some special features.
£9.95 on Amazon. It's not too bad at all.
Yeah, well worth it.
Anyway, getting to that time now where we better get to Dan's hot pick. Favorite part of the show, award-winning part of the show, I might say. So, Dan picked Rigor Mortis. Now, I think Dan sent me a link for this. I couldn't get it working. Ewan's just come on, so apparently he was ill, but we know, Ewan, that you were DJing and drum and bass at a nightclub. He did say D and B, didn't he?
Yeah, D and B at the hottest place, hottest time.
Hottest time, yeah. So, oh dear. So yeah, he's been DJing. Hopefully, he's been paid well for it. So, now Dan, Rigor Mortis. Okay, let me bring up my. Is this? Yeah, here we go. A suicidal actor, Soo Ho Chin, tries to kill himself in an apartment building inhabited by a vampire hunter, ghosts, and other supernatural beings. So this film's from Hong Kong. 2013, had a Rotten Tomatoes of 65%. Now, I couldn't get the link working. Ewan's just said it's shit.
He hasn't seen the extended edition.
This is Evil Dead we're speaking about, but Ewan...
not Rigor Mortis.
No. So the Rigor Mortis, I couldn't get the link working, so I had to buy it again. So that cost me another £4. Dan's costing me a fortune. It's great, though, because I watched it once, got really confused by it, so it needs another watch from me. I think I got most of it. It's really quite interesting. This actor guy, I don't know if I couldn't work out if his wife and kids left him or they died. Yeah, you're probably right, Dan. Put the magic word is VPN, but I still wouldn't know. So, I'm a bit old for that.
I struggle with VPNs, to be fair.
Is that what is VPN? Is that some sexual disease or something in Sweden?
It's just
it's where why they wear the white pants and stuff. So,
what, to protect their VPN?
Yeah. So, this film, there's a guy, his wife and daughters either left him or whatever, and he gets this apartment building. He goes to the apartment and gets let in, and he hangs himself. But when he's hanging himself, he's kind of possessed by the ghost of a girl, and basically he's getting possessed by him, and then he's cut down by someone. So it then works out that there's this kind of vampire and a guy, and there's a lady who her husband died. She wants to bring him back, and she buries him in the bath and dirt or something. And what's a very precious knob? Yes, that's VPN. Yeah, exactly, Ewan.
I'm glad you got that straight away. I thought he was just calling us very precious.
Yeah, we're very precious knobs on the Bones Horror podcast. But so it confused me a lot, and I think it all worked out in the end. And Dan has said, right, because again, Dan's hot pick, I normally think is Dan must have watched this, but he fell asleep both times trying to watch Rigor Mortis. Nice looking movie, very, very confusing at times. But so you imagine how I feel then. So I've got to watch it a couple of more times. It is beautifully shot. I think it might even been based on some kind of TV Hong Kong program. Is Hong Kong part of China or is it separate? What is it? Is it its own country?
I am terrible when it comes to this sort of stuff. But Ewan, from the off screen, on screen, help us on this one. I believe it is separate, but I'm terrible with geography and just in cities and place. But yeah, I believe it is.
Do they speak in Chinese, or is there like a Hong Kong language? Do you think?
I think it is.
I know you haven't seen it. So
no, it's on my list though, because I had a similar problem, because obviously where I was away, I did try and get it up, and I struggled with certain things like Internet Plus and all that, and so it's one of those where I am tempted just to buy it. This will be kind of a first, straight away buy. Also,
you'd like it, I think.
Well, yeah, for Dan especially, from the other week of the hot pick, Wormwood 2 is on Internet Plus and floating up, and and
that's got to be a Dan's hot pick, isn't it? At some point,
I would
want it main feature.
Well, I don't know, because it's the thing, because I think that that's going to be on one of what I watched, and yeah, I actually, I'll probably leave.
I want to know if they can then start running airplanes off zombies.
There is a wider reach in this one, where it's like what can be done with it. So I don't want to give too much away, but I would highly recommend, if obviously you liked Wormwood 1, just watch Wormwood 2, because it's you can tell it's the same.
Yeah, I bought that one. Yes. So Wormwood. Yeah. Well, we'll have a look at that. Yeah. So Wormwood 2. If I can find it, I'd like to buy it, to be honest. So if I can get hold of it. There's no cinema release then, obviously. No big cinema release. No IMAX.
No. God. I think it's one of those films like Wormwood 1, when I remember that being advertised on a trailer somewhere. I can't remember what I was watching, but I remember it got advertised, and I thought, this looks batshit crazy. And it's zombies, and it looks like good effects. And so I remember I think I bought it in Southampton town. Yeah. And yeah, I watched it, thought it was great. Obviously, we talked about it recently. But yeah, I've known that there's been a sequel in the works for a long time, but I've just wondered, like myself, where is that going to be? Is it going to be released just straight to DVD? But it's floating about, and good quality and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised. It's one of those
films, isn't it? You want to see, like Swamp Ape 2, if that comes out, that kind of.
Do you know, I will give you that there could be a good Swamp Ape 2.
It'd be amazing.
Just maybe better production value. Just maybe, just a tad.
I'm hoping Dan's seen Swamp Ape. I really am. See, I think
it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Anyway, it's that time in the show to move on to what we watched this week.
What have you been watching?
No, seriously, what have you been watching?
Alrighty. First one I watched with my 13-year-old. We watched Ghoulies.
Ghoulies,
whatever you call it.
Ghoulies or Ghoulies.
Ghoulies. I've got it on Blu-ray. I've got the second one as well, and I think I'm not sure if I properly ever really watched the first one because it didn't make much sense to me. So basically, hang on, let me bring up my little banner again. So I wrote all this down. Yeah, so like a young man and his girlfriend move into an old mansion where he becomes possessed by a desire to control ancient demons. Yeah, so there's a little child who's going to be sacrificed as a baby. He's not sacrificed. He's taken away by someone. And anyway, years later, I think he was the kind of son or child or son of the people that own this big old house. So he comes back there and it becomes his, I think, if I'm on the right track here. Again, it gets confusing. But he then starts kind of being kind of possessed and wanting to do dressing up in this ancient stuff and doing spells and raising these little green monsters that want to kill everyone. And yeah, it's a very odd one. The puppetry are quite good. It's quite like, you know, it's come out around about the same time as Gremlins, I think, and Critters, that kind of thing. And it's okay. It's not as good as I remember, to be honest with you. Definitely not as good as I remember. So yeah, it was okay. So we watched that. He enjoyed it. Yeah. So do you want to do one? I would say I'd give it 6 now, 5 or 6. It's entertaining.
I'd have to rewatch it again, but I would agree at this point. It's been a while. I don't even think I own that.
Yeah, I don't think it's aged very well, really. I bought it because I remember it being really good. It's on 101 Stu. Is it? Yeah, it's one of them. But yeah, I watched it again. It was like, and it went on a bit. Do you know what I mean? But the boy watched, enjoyed it. So yeah, it's another one. Revisit. I'll revisit again in a few years, I expect. So, yeah. So if you give us what you've been watching, I've got 5 to do, so you might as well.
Yeah. I'm literally trying to go through my head of them all. So obviously mentioned Wormwood 2. Very good sequel. I like the direction they're taking. I think I've seen that one, Dan. So Dan's just put in Be My Cat, a film for Anne, 2015 as a hot pick. I'll have to double check that, but the name rings a bell. But I might be thinking of another one that's called something similar. But yeah, so Wormwood 2, great. Really good. I would recommend it highly. I don't.
Oh, you watched it?
Yeah. So it's so very, very good. Very in line with the first one. I don't want to say it's a direct. It is obviously a direct sequel, but it adds a little bit, just a tad bit of time. Some new characters with some new developments. And I don't want to give too much away because I feel like if I do, it just spoil it. So yeah, my next one I watched, which wasn't so much a horror, but watched Man on Fire with Denzel Washington.
Okay.
Tony Scott film. Fantastic. Love it to bits. And I think, I don't know. It's one of those films that I used to watch, ironically, a lot when I was a kid, because I used to think it was just was a great film, but it also introduced me to kind of Denzel Washington's sort of acting career properly. And then
what's it about?
So it's based on a novel and based on a novella, I think, and also a true story that has obviously been added to and whatever. But essentially, it's about a bodyguard in Mexico City who is looking after a very rich family's daughter. And in Mexico, there are, especially when you're watching the film, it comes up with a statement saying there are at least, I want to say it's like 6 to 8 kidnappings in 4 days total, which accumulates obviously, and it's all held for ransom, and there are certain gangs that do it. And this film, I don't want to give too much away if you haven't seen it, but it's a film about a bodyguard trying to protect a young girl in a very kind of rich family, and it is based upon true events and obviously a novel or novella. It's really good, like really, really good. I would highly recommend it.
Feel it. It sounds familiar. So, shall I do one?
Yeah.
So I've been on a bit of a Stephen King. Been buying up a few Stephen King miniseries and films and getting into those. So first one I've watched was that Langelier's miniseries, which is about 3 hours. It was basically there's God, how do I explain it? There's some guys. They're all on an airplane, basically. So everyone gets on this plane, and then there's only 10 people left on the plane, basically. But they'd all been asleep. So when they wake up, there's only 10 people there. Everyone else has disappeared, leaving behind their watches and wallets, whatever else. But they've gone. So then they're kind of trying to. There's the pilots are gone as well, but there was a pilot who had become ill and was traveling home and got that flight, and he was asleep. So luckily for them, they had a pilot, so he could fly and communicate and everything else. So they tried to travel to. I think did they go to Maine? Probably. They probably go to Maine, Derry, something like that. You know, Castle Rock, whatever.
It's always Stephen King's go-to.
So they're gonna try and go there, but there's no one anywhere. There's no lights on. It's like the world's empty. So they land at an airport, and there's no one there. And then there's like these weird things going on. And I don't want to give too much away because it's 3 hours long, and it is. I found it quite entertaining. I think I'd read it might have been in my teens, maybe a bit later. I've read pretty much every King book there is. I'm reading Revival at the moment, which is bloody amazing. Yeah. So if you do like reading books, Stephen King's Revival is just so good. Get on it. It's dark. It's bloody great. It just goes on and on and on. Again, like most King books, but it is amazing. So that's kind of, I'm on a bit of a Stephen King thing at the moment. I'm going to start probably the Shining miniseries shortly, and I'm halfway through Dreamcatcher, which is bloody terrible.
The film.
The film is like, who's in that? There's a lot of famous people in that film.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a British actor, I believe. There's people that you recognize.
Yeah, there's lots of people you recognize. And who's the guy? Oh God, I can't remember what his name is.
Was he out of the Mist? Is one of them out of the Mist?
Yeah, I think so. You got Matey from Seven. Morgan Freeman's in it. He's terrible. He is terrible in this movie. Makes no sense. So Dan's got good taste. He's just finished Revival. So you'll probably finish another 50 books before I finish Revival, Dan, because literally it's mainly what I do at night. So I get half hour, an hour, and I fall asleep. So, so that was good. Because I've been listening to a podcast called, I'll tell you what it's called, like Postmortem with Mick Garris. I think Mick Garris directed the Stand miniseries and probably the Shining, and a few other things. And he was involved with Michael Jackson's Ghosts, kind of 32-minute video. Originally, he was going to direct it, but I think he ended up writing parts of it, and it was passed over. And that's on YouTube. So I was interested after listening to a podcast and them all discussing this Michael Jackson thing. I watched it, and it kind of, I think he spent at least 7 or 10 million of his own money on it.
Christ!
But he was making it when it all kicked off with whatever was, we all know what went on. So it all kicked off then. So it kind of took a back seat for a while, and then it was made somewhere else. So I watched it, and let me just again bring up my. So the mayor of a nameless town gathers a mob to confront a hermit living in a haunted house. The hermit being Michael Jackson, When the mob arrives, however, the man has a few tricks up his sleeves. So, like,
Nice.
So basically, it's a story about someone who he lives in this big house. He's a bit different. So the people who live nearby go, "Oh, I don't like it. He's different. We want you out of our town." So being Michael Jackson, he does some scary stuff, but he also he does it by doing dance and things and making people laugh.
Sure.
Have you ever seen it?
No. I thought you were referencing something completely different.
No. So there is a Michael Jackson mini movie called Ghosts, and there's some great dancing and some the songs you wouldn't really know. There's a lot of monsters, a lot of special effects. Being just see there. Oh yeah. So like, I'll read it out. 2 seconds. So the kind of special effects are like this for
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. Well,
so
for audio listeners, I just some clips from what we're talking about, and can thankfully say Jesus Christ.
Eyes bulging out, Michael Jackson doing his usual stuff. Michael Jackson dancing as a skeleton. Michael Jackson ripping his face off, so he's a skeleton. I was entertained by it, to be honest. It was very, very long, probably a bit too long, but after listening to that podcast, I thought I've got to watch it, and it is available, and it's like a HD or 4K version on YouTube. You can go and watch it for free, so it is there.
And just to answer Dan's query that's come in, which says, think Larry promised to read Tentagirl a while ago,
which is amazing, by the way.
I have it on the PC, so but I have not read it yet, but I do have it on the PC. It took a blooming while because let's just say other stuff was recommended, which I was a bit like, I'm all right. But yes, it is on the PC, and I will make sure for next podcast, Dan, to give you my viewpoint of it.
I think that's the one with the little tent of babies in the bath.
Yeah, no. We talked about it on, like I said, we talked about it a while ago on a podcast, and I had to search and just make sure I got the right thing because I was.
It's steep and hard. We got to have a new. Is there a new one coming out soon? Because there's got to be a Tentagirl. Is there a second one, Dan? I don't know.
No spoilers for the first one though.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It delivers though. It's fun. It's so much fun. The last thing I watched. I spoke about. I watched the kind of Thing in the Forest last week, and I touched upon it from Rubicon Films. Their Droving is on YouTube, and it's a film I watched before, and that's a kind of folky one where a guy's looking for his sister who's gone missing. Potentially she's been murdered, and he goes to this little town, and it's where is it? It's beautifully shot. There's like mountains, and there is even it's like a slate kind of building that's built into the mountains, and you can stay there if you want. So if you're traveling, you can just go there and stay in this thing, and there's nothing really in there, but it'll keep you dry. And it's great. I know you haven't seen it yet, have you?
No.
But it's on YouTube. If you look up The Droving, you'll find it. It's well acted. It's beautifully shot. I love it a lot. I've seen it 3 or 4 times, and it's just free. So I'm quite looking forward to something else they release actually at Rubicon Films. So it's good. Other than that, Rust. So I've been playing lots of Rust. And lots of Rust, which I'm getting all right at now. So anything else, Larry?
I will try and go through mine really quickly.
Yep.
So I watched Good Boys by Seth Rogen. Very funny comedy. I solid comedy if you like Seth Rogen. I watched Real Steel with Hugh Jackman.
That's good.
which
seen
is
that
really
a couple
good.
of times. Yeah.
I think that it's a film that, I think it captures kind of. It's a very wholesome film, but it's good effects, good music, and a good time to watch. Obviously, mentioned Man on Fire. So my last big one that I watched Ty West's X from A24.
Looking forward to that.
So off the bat, I would say I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. For me personally, I think it was really good.
You're throwing boners about tonight.
I'm everyone. I will happily admit, when it comes to A24, I have to, when I'm watching the film, I have to really sit there and say, okay, don't just like it because it's A24. Like, really sit there and give it a watch. But what I will say is, I thought this film was going to be something. I thought it was going to be something that it wasn't. And that is a criticism I'll have, but it's not to do with the film. And I don't know if they've done it on purpose, but I would say to anybody, just watch the film and don't worry about the trailer, because the trailer does make it out to be something, at least in my opinion. It makes out to be something it's not. Okay. And what I really like about the film is that, and this is not a spoiler, it is in the trailer. They say in the trailer, like, oh, a film can't just change halfway through. That's what old horror films do. Exactly, Dan. Bonus to all. Every film I see. But yeah, no, this film did a really good job, because in the trailer and the marketing, they're like, a film can't change halfway through. And they make that comment in the film. And they're like, horrors do that. They just change halfway through. But this film knows exactly what it is. It's like, okay, well, it is a horror film, but it's got much more weight to it. So the first half of the film is one thing. The second half of the film is the other. The biggest 3 points I'll give it are special effects are fantastic. Like, just hands down, fair play, because it's great. The deaths are some very creative deaths, and I feel very bad for somebody in that film who was in a lake. And when you watch that film, you'll understand what I mean. But that was probably my favorite death in the film. But also, I think a thing where the effects alone really sold it. The acting is really, really good. And there is stuff hinted to that I know we've spoke about, Kev.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it too much, but all I'm going to say is, when you're watching it, you will notice something. And from learning some stuff, I am interested on what they're going to do, because apparently this is not just a one-off film. It's going to be part of a trilogy.
Yes.
And I'm very interested, but I think most people will catch on to what almost the twist is, but it's not a twist that gets revealed. It's a twist that I think the audience, I spent about a good 20 minutes watching the film, going back and forth to myself, going, is that okay? I think so. And the end credits helped, but yes, I'm interested. So I would recommend, if you like horror, this is very much, it feels like a classic horror, is what I would say.
You should like horror listening to this podcast, really.
Yeah, I was going to say. Well, I was going to say, yeah,
bang on it. So, So next week we need to pick something. I don't know if it's going to be this weekend or the weekend after. We'll talk about it later. But we do need a next. Cause it's Wednesday night, isn't it? So we're going to go out Sunday, but would it be an Easter and? Oh, it was Monday. It was Sunday, then Monday, I think.
Yeah, it was Sunday, then changed to Monday.
Yeah, we couldn't all do it together, and as it happened, we couldn't. I didn't want to put it off another week, so appreciate you doing it, Larry. It's always hard with two of us, but we do need to come up with a new film for next week. So
I
mentioned something, didn't you?
I pronounce it horribly, but it is a South Korean horror film, and I want to say it's called Cairo, but I pronounce it wrong. But essentially, it is about contacting ghosts through the internet, and it is it's actually, you can obviously search it on YouTube and watch trailers and stuff, but it from what I understand, which I fully agree with this statement, it has one of the scariest scenes in a horror film that a lot of people tend to bring up and say this is how you should do horror, and how effective it can be. And I do agree.
Is that spelled with a K, do you think? Or
yeah.
Pulse, is it?
No. So this is what I mean. I can get it. I'll get it up. I'll get it up, and then I'll
yeah, please do, and then I can tell.
Scary.
Yeah. So we can get that on there.
Here we go. So it's spelled Kairo.
Kairo. Yeah, see, when I put that in, it comes up with Pulse. So I think I might have it on Arrow or something like that. Anyway, I've got a few streaming services.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if there has been a remake, and the remake might be but the remake might be called, because I know that a lot of horror films from especially South Korea.
Is that it?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And it's I believe it is accessible. I believe you can purchase it. But yes. Yeah, it's very good.
I'll end up purchasing it, won't I? Unless, So yeah. Well, we'll look forward to that next week. Hopefully we get everyone. So it might be next weekend. It might be Sunday night, or I don't know. I haven't got a long on this weekend, so it could do it. Right. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're getting towards 1,000 followers now, which is amazing. So follow him, please.
Follow and
really
share.
Comments much. I don't say too much on there, to be honest. I don't know what to say half the time, but other than what I'm watching. Yeah, you can follow us on there, or that's Bones Horror Pod, or Instagram's Bones Horror Pod. You can email us at boneshorrorpod@gmail.com, and I think that's pretty much it. So thanks, Larry. It's been quite entertaining tonight.
Yeah,
hour long
discussing the old Evil Dead.
Oh, so good.
I am looking forward.
We should do it again next week after I watch the extended version. So yeah, we'll be back next week with our episode. Was it 78? Cairo, however you say that.
Yeah, no, I pronounce it wrong each time. Hearing it, when you hear it in the film, you think, oh, okay, but I always pronounce it wrong.
Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, we will see you next week. See you later then.
See everyone later.
Bye.
Boy.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're ignorant.